I know I've told you this before, but I freaking love this bike. These 250XCs, 250XC, 300XC, different hammers for different purposes, different screwdrivers. But for out here in this stuff, I don't think you can beat 250XC. Yowza!
How you doing there, guys? This is Kyle with Dirt Bike Channel. As I'm editing this, I'm just sort of laughing and giggling and smiling about how the bike is just gutting it out up this hill. This is the 250XC. It has a stock carburetor on it. There's just been leaned out for my altitude, but I'm also running an RK Tech high compression head on the bike, which I absolutely love on these 250XCs. Very, very highly recommend that if you're running at altitude and you want a little bit more grunt back in the bike to make it a little bit more like a 300, but it still retains that 250 free revving characteristic. Just changing subjects though, I just wanted to tell you guys, so this video was actually shot, this ride was done on November 16th, and the day I'm editing this is actually November 27th, so it's been about 11 days since this ride. And Tyler and I'm not going to put up all the footage from the ride, but excuse me, Tyler and I did quite a bit of riding on this day, especially for really being my first day back on the bike. I had ridden 2 days prior to this, but it was only for 20 minutes total. And today was a really good test. I really pushed the bike on the day that pushed my knee on the day that we did this. And then I went back 2 days later and into this same area, and I rode with Sam on the Honda, which will be coming out soon. I rode the Honda Sierra 250R and kind of pushed the knee a little bit then, but not as much. And then I went to Arizona and I rode 2 different days in Arizona over the Thanksgiving weekend on the 300XC WTPI, and I pushed my knee really a lot then because I was riding with a couple of really phenomenal riders down in some terrain that I wasn't familiar with. It was far rockier than this. A lot of rocks, a lot of loose rocks that just made it very difficult and very technical. You know, softball size rocks and cantaloupe size rocks, and everything that moved, everything would roll away from your tire, and so it just made it extremely challenging. And I really put a lot of work on my leg and on my knee. And what I wanted to say was, I'm so glad that I didn't short circuit the process and I didn't start riding before the 6 months were up on the rehab on my ACL. And if I'm dead honest, even after a hard ride, my knees feel fine. They feel completely the same throughout my normal daily routine. But after a long day on the bike, like this day, the knee that I had the ACL reconstruction on, that knee actually felt weaker. Just walking around after this ride, it felt weaker than the non-ACL knee. And then when I was down in Arizona, we did one day where it was just like a really long, nasty, like 2 rides, 2 full, 2 of their normal rides packed into one on some really technical stuff. Super deep ruts and everything. By the end of that ride, I was just hanging on, hoping that I didn't hurt my knee. And then luckily I was able to come away because I knew I was getting tired and I was starting to make mistakes, and the stakes were high. The stakes were high at that point. And I'm really glad that I didn't short circuit the process of coming back too early on my ACL. And my doctor said, hey, your ACL recovery is from 6 to 9 months. 6 months is the minimum. 9 months is actually better. And I can totally tell why he said that now, because I started riding right about the 6 month mark, maybe a couple days early. And I know my knee is going to be, it isn't as strong as my other leg. And I can tell that after a long day's ride on the bike. It's not that easy to tell in my workouts here at the house. It's not that easy to tell in my regular life. But you spend a bunch of time working your freaking guts out on the bike like we do when we're out riding, and you can tell. I can tell. And I'm glad that I'm going into wintertime where I'm not going to be riding as much, so that by the time spring comes around, when I do want to want to ride more and have more of an opportunity to ride, my knee is going to be even that much stronger, because then I'll be more closer to that 9-month mark, and I know that's going to be a really, really good thing. So I'm glad to be back on the bike, but also I know that it is not as strong as my other knee joint. I can tell that really really well after a long ride, and then just walk around on it, go up and down stairs on it after spending the entire day on the bike, and it's patently obvious that it's not as strong as the other side. So just food for thought on that. I'm very happy to be where I'm at. I haven't injured it. I had kind of a perfect surgery and a perfect recovery, no setbacks. But yeah, I can tell that 6 to 9 months is kind of the minimum, because I'm at 6 months and I know it's not as strong as my other side, despite me working my freaking guts out all summer long rehabbing it. So food for thought, guys.
So this bike is stock except for the RK Tech head. I've got the stock McCuney carburetor on it. All I did was lean it out with $10 in jets. So that was easy.